Hello, my name is Alicia Shapiro with AInews.com, and welcome to another episode of our Driving Tomorrow Conversations with Industry Leaders, where we explore the latest developments and newest innovations in the world of artificial intelligence. Today, I'm excited to be speaking with Faisal Mushtaq, founder and CEO of TechCon Global, a seasoned C-suite executive, angel investor, and digital transformation leader who has built and scaled global technology teams across Fortune 500 companies and startups. TechCon Global has grown into a purpose-driven platform connecting entrepreneurs, investors, and industry leaders through high-impact innovation and investment conferences, including TechCon SoCal right here in San Diego, which brings together over 1,000 attendees, 100 or more investors, and leading voices across AI, health tech, robotics, and more. In today's conversation, we're going to be exploring what makes TechCon different from traditional tech events and how it's designed to drive real outcomes, not just conversations, and why that connection between innovation and capital matters more than ever right now. So thank you for joining us today, Faisal.
Thank you for having me, Alicia. It's a pleasure to be.
Oh, absolutely. I'm glad to have you here. So I'll start with the big picture. There are no shortage of tech conferences today. We all know that. So at a high level, what problem were you trying to solve when you created TechCon Global, and what makes it fundamentally different from other tech or startup conferences?
I think this is a great question, and I'm asked a lot. Let me try to answer it in a way that TechCon was conceived.
Okay.
So first of all, I'm an entrepreneur. You're right that I've been attending, speaking a large number of conferences over my career of 20 plus years. And if you look at great products, like when Slack came out, that was not the only collaboration platform that was there. There were many chatting and collaboration platforms up there. But I think it's the value you bring to the user and the experience you create for them that sometimes differentiate. So in terms of TechCon, what I felt was there are these 3 or 4 islands of events. The first is those large mega shows, South by Southwest. Amazing, very high production value. You go there and you see really cool product launches, thousands of people running around. But at the end, in my experience, I noticed that I never built a deeper connection because I never got a chance to sit down with it in a bit more, I'll say, private or in a more collaborative environment to connect with people. So it was good to know what the new products are coming out and see thousands of faces, but it never gave me the connections that I was looking for. On the flip side, the events that I normally enjoyed were these small, under 200 people events where there were great entrepreneurs, great investors, great CEOs are there, and you're talking, they're sharing their experiences, and you are able to connect with them, learn from them. Connection does not mean that you need something from that person. Connection means sometimes it's just a brainstorming of ideas, sometimes it's just bouncing off ideas, sometimes it's just a common connection that they can point you to. So I think those were great, but what I noticed was they were either private, like invite, or really expensive, right? Sometimes $5,000, $10,000, which creates a kind of a paywall. And then the other area that I noticed was events are either too broad or they are too narrow in terms of either they're focusing on a specific region, maybe LA Tech Week, highlighting LA entrepreneur, which is a great mechanism or a great platform. But I feel that in this day and age, the money, the entrepreneurs can be anywhere. And I think it's more the connectivity and the human connection that matters. So with that in mind, I kept highlighting the shortcomings of all the events I go to. I used to have a wall with all the badges. And then it occurred to me that I'm an entrepreneur. If you see a problem, you have to solve it yourself if nobody else is solving it. And that's how TechCon Genesis or came into being. The way you should think about it, it's a human-centered conference where we are talking about information sharing. So it has to be high quality discourse, high quality speakers, high quality knowledge sharing. The second one is that your ability to meet and connect with people, the human connection is important. So those are the two paramount elements. And then the third element that I touched upon is accessibility and inclusivity. So how do we make sure that these conferences, the same big names that you see in Bay Area or other places can be brought down and be made accessible to the next generation of entrepreneurs. So that's either by sponsoring, by scholarships given to students that we give, or by making sure the tickets are reasonably affordable in this day and age. So that was the mechanism. That's how it started. And how it's evolving is that which I think you will ask me later, is we are connecting the regions together also, which is a very different angle to it, which I can touch upon later. But at a high level, it's a high quality conference with amazing speakers, great high quality individuals, attendees, speakers that you get to meet, build human connections, and learn from them. So that's how the focus of TechCon has been for the last 7 years.
I love that story. It's a great example of how entrepreneurs solve problems. I love that. And you were mentioning the multiple regions, and you were just in Silicon Valley a couple weeks ago with HumanX. You have a conference, a TechCon conference that's in the Southwest, and now you're bringing one to SoCal in San Diego. So, was the goal always to build something bigger than a single event? And what made you think of San Diego for this region?
Yeah, so actually, we started from San Diego in 2019. And what happened was initially the goal was what I mentioned to you. But when we looked at the problems, like entrepreneurs, early stage entrepreneurs looking for right investors, or the investors looking for great deal flow, or CXO or CEO of a large company looking for my next technology to include in their product or in their network infrastructure, or looking to acquire a company, what we noticed was those problems were all over in their different regions, and each has the same. And what we felt was that the interconnectivity of the regions also is missing. So there are these mega shows where you have people all over the world, and then there are regional shows. But the interconnectivity is like nice curated intermingling of the attendees and the speakers. And that's how we decided to expand to Southwest region. So we did it in Austin this year. We are looking at Dallas next year, and also Silicon Valley. So the reason was that if you look at the history, when we started TechCon SoCal, the first event was 2020, we noticed that around 60% of our speakers were outside the region of Southern California, LA, Orange County, San Diego. They were Bay Area, they were New York, Boston. And same thing, the event that we did in Austin were investors all over the place. So there was one panel in Austin that all four VCs were from Bay Area. And there was another panel at Austin where they're all four were from different regions like LA, Boston, Dallas, and Austin. So it's a nice intermingling. And that's important in this day and age because entrepreneurs, when they're looking for funding, they are looking for the right investors, and they are all over the place. There are different pockets. Obviously, Bay Area is a big investment hub, but there are other regions also in Southwest, in New York, and in other places, in LA. So yeah, that's the connectivity that we are trying to enable and trying to intermix. We have an entrepreneur flying in from Boston for a panel in San Diego. He is a CEO of an AI company. So because one of his investors is from LA. So those are the connectivity that we are trying to do. So when you start a product, you have a MVP, you have a beachhead segment, which was for us for Southern California. And then what you do is you try to complement that. Because if you look at the panel that we are doing, one of the keynote panel is there are four CEOs that are semiconductor CEOs, MIP CEO. We have a Altera CEO coming from the area, right? The only reason that they can come is that they are aware of TechCon, the mission, and they're willing to support it. And for that, we have to go to them. We have to do events in those regions also so that they can become familiar, so we can attract them to San Diego, LA, or Orange County in the future. So it's a work in progress, I will say, but the idea is to also create this nice high value, high fidelity connectivity between the regions. And we are trying to connect the Southwest, SoCal, and NorCal together.
I like that because, like you said, it brings different perspectives together from the different experts in the different areas, and they can provide that unique insight that businesses may not get if they just stayed in their one little bubble area.
Exactly. And just one comment I wanted to add was, so we believe that conferences should be in person because it's not just knowledge sharing or the insights that you collect, it's also the relationships that you build. And the relationships cannot be built virtually. We have gone through the COVID phase and we are very well aware. So you have to be in person to shake hands, to look in the eye and build that human connection. Later on, you can definitely amplify that through virtual means and continue building that. But knowledge should not be that. So for that, what we do is for even since TechCon started, we record everything, every session, and it's available for free on techcontv.com or techcon.tv. So yeah, they have around 250 plus sessions, interviews that have been available, thousands of views. And our thesis is that the knowledge is available. Somebody is sitting in maybe in outside US in a developing country wants to listen to these CEOs, and he or she should get that opportunity. So that's also a mission. Also, same thing we do, which I mentioned upon inclusivity, is students, because we are a big believer in the next generation. So
Hmm.
we have a special ticket for entrepreneurs, early stage entrepreneurs, but also for students. And then we have several organizations, John G. Watson Foundation and many others that have sponsored students for last many years.
Hmm.
So the college students can attend for free because they are the ones that are looking entering either the job market or being an entrepreneur. Both are viable paths. It's not just entrepreneurship is the key. Even if you're looking for a job and you have a CTO of a company sitting there on a panel, you can connect with that person, with him or her, and then hopefully at least get your resume in the right place. And that's 90% of the battle is getting whether your pitch deck or the resume at the right place. And then
That's
I think
true.
obviously you have to be good at what you do, and then you have to sell yourself. Yeah.
Yes, that's true. That's interesting. You mentioned that you're also trying to make this available to students. And TechCon SoCal is at San Diego State University here in San Diego. Is that what makes this particular event so important? Or how does the TechCon SoCal fit into the broader strategy of TechCon Global?
Yeah, so TechCon SoCal is part of TechCon Global. So it's basically the event that we do in Southern California. But what we are doing is we always had students front and center of our mission. So we accomplish that through many ways. One is through partnering with the schools, UCSD, UCLA, SDSU, all these great schools we have partnered, which we give discount code, we invite their students. We have a panel where there are, I think, Dean from UCI, Dean from Urbana-Champaign, and obviously the VP of Innovation at SDSU Hala is speaking. So that's just part of it because in our mind, innovation is a continuum. Starts
Mhm.
where at the school, and then the fresh product that you create with students, either they become entrepreneur or they become great executives and they move the world forward. So
Yes.
we want to make sure they have a seat at the table. And we do, like I mentioned, about partnering with nonprofit to sponsor them. And then obviously we also invite speakers from academia, as I mentioned, leadership from there too, because they are the one who are defining, everyone's talking about AI. And the
Mhm.
biggest question is, how does that impact the future? How does it impact what we teach? How do it impact what skills people will need? And that's a very thoughtful question and answer because you have to think and project next 5, 10, 15 years. But these
Yeah.
guys are doing that. So we want to hear from them. What are they thinking? What are they planning to do? So that have been a part. And then SESU have been a wonderful sponsor. They sponsored us last time. They have been a supporter this year. And this aligns with our mission. So we are hosting it at SESU again this
Mhm.
year, and then hopefully continuing that collaboration and partnership.
I love how you give back and you're helping the next generation learn and grow and get their insights and perspectives as well. That's fabulous. And you talk about turning ideas into real outcomes at the conference. What actually happens during the event that makes that possible? And what do you think most events get wrong when it comes to that?
Yeah. So I think, again, the biggest challenge that I've seen in events is accessibility.
Mhm.
So again, all events are great events, and I think we were together in an event in San Francisco just a
Yeah.
few weeks ago. So that event had 200 of the leading AI minds
Mhm.
across the world, right? But I did not meet a single person. I did
Oh,
not get a chance to talk to a single person,
I
right?
didn't
To
either.
me, that I know, but what I'm saying is that's what we are trying to solve.
Yeah.
70 to 90% of our speakers are accessible post session for a few hours. Sometimes they spend the whole day there and they interact and build those relationships.
Mhm.
So I think that's the first thing that we are trying to address. The second part is a pitch event, for example. That's the earlier stage of the pipeline. So
Mhm.
this time we had a very elaborate process. We started in last August, September. We
Mhm.
started opening application. We had around 200 plus applications that were received.
Wow.
We did the first quarter final late last year, early this year, and then we did a second quarter final in March, and then we did the semi-final. And we selected seven great startups. I think two or three are from San Diego.
Hmm.
We have two from Canada, one from Houston. So all the best companies that the selection committee, which was comprised of the leading early stage investors from TechStars to Peach Score and many other organizations, they were doing that. So that gives us a good pool of people, and our goal is to showcase them in May 23rd in front of the judges, which will be the leading investors across the country that we are inviting. And the winner in San Diego will be considered a winner of a regional competition for Startup World Cup, and they will be going to San Francisco in October or September, October timeframe to pitch for the finals. So they
Wow.
have a path towards there, and look at the visibility they get, the connections they make. I think that's what the startups are looking for. So that's again, I think one is the human connection I mentioned, making sure we have a world-class app. We use a platform called Confair,
Mhm.
and where you can connect with people. And the good thing is TechCon is not a one event, it's a family of event. So if you plan your year, you can keep making those connections. And since it's the same app, you build a connection database that will be valuable to you. A lot of people treat conferences as a very transactional one-time thing. I think we are trying to make it as a continuum. And another thing that I'll touch upon is the kind of speakers we invite are not overlapping. So we have around 110 speakers for the May 21st to 23rd event. 75% are new. That means they have never spoken at TechCon. So we bring new minds, new ideas to TechCon so that you get to do that. And then the overlap between Austin and San Francisco, San Diego event, that was in terms of speaker, is one or two people. So therefore, a very different ecosystem that if an entrepreneur attending that event and that event, he will have a net positive sum of investors that he or she connected with, completely additive. So that's what also we are trying to do, is to make sure that the speakers that were in San Francisco and the speakers that were in San Diego and Austin, the overlap is zero. So they are all new speakers. So that's where I think we think of it as like a distributed system that
Yeah.
collectively becomes big. We don't believe a mega conference with 3,000 and 5,000 people is the way to go. What we feel is that partially regionalized, partially global, a global event with the essence of the region, that they need to understand each region is different. For example, in Austin, I had a panel on neurotech, and we had four amazing CEOs in that panel. I love that panel. If you have time, you should see it. I'm very proud of that panel. Those four CEOs three were from Austin, and they were doing state of the art brain computer interfaces and all that, and raised tons of money and really amazing work. So that is very different than a panel that we're having in San Diego, which is about drug discovery and bio. So it's all additive. And that's what I think we're trying to build, a global community that's connected. And you can build connection, but you can attend multiple conferences, and each one adds value to what you're looking for. Whatever you're looking for a customer, you're looking for funds, you're looking for a potential good deal. If you're an investor, it's all additive.
Nice. So, talking more about the investor side, the startups have the pitch competition. Maybe they're hoping to get some investors there. If you're an investor, what are you looking for in TechCon? Like, how is that helping them make some deals as well?
That's a great question. So I think for investors, you have to think from their perspective, just as entrepreneurs are looking for great investors are looking for great deals. Look at the AI gold rush in Bay Area. Investors are running after those really amazing companies from Anthropic to and trying to get their investment in. So what they expect is a higher quality startup that they will be pushed towards. And that's why we have made such a formal process. I give a shout out to Eric Weiss. I think he's been a core part and he played a big role in this process, very methodical. He's been a good partner. So we are doing this thing just for a give back perspective. We want to create that high quality. And we are very proud of the 7 startups that we have finalized. And then our goal is to showcase them to the investors and hope at least one or two will get investment. So one is for sure going to San Francisco to have another shot at $1 million. And then we are very pleased to announce that we have received an investment commitment from another startup. And that is, we have a very reputable judge and investor, Lakeisha Landrum. And she runs a million ventures, and they will do an initial round in the first startup, which will be announced the exact amount on one of the startup from the 7 finalists. And then if they meet some KPIs, then obviously a subsequent round also. But that's again a guaranteed investment for one of the startups in the 7 finalists that are pitching on stage, plus a chance to go to a much bigger stage than TechCon, like the World Startup World Cup, and try to get this shot at $1 million. So these are these opportunities that we are creating, and our goal is to continue creating those.
That's amazing. I love how it all comes together and there's different areas of focus if that's what your thing is. If you're a student or if you're in academia or healthcare or fintech, and it just comes together. But it's small and it's human first. So you can make those connections. I just think that's such a good idea.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. So that's, I think, how it took us almost 25 minutes to explain. I
Yeah.
wish I can like do chat GPT and put it in one line, because obviously the question is valid. Like somebody says, I'm building a chat, an agent. They'll say there's so many agents, how you're different. But my thesis is that great companies are the ones who do an existing known a solution in a better way, in a better user experience, in a
Yep.
better The browser, you can look at the browser. The number first two, three browsers are not the one that are right now everyone is using. Anything that you're, the search engine, Google was not the first search engine. So I think whatever you do, you have to do something different. Either there is, you have a technical moat, or you have a user experience moat, or you have a value moat that is just an aggregate of various elements. If your moat is clear, then you can definitely differentiate yourself. And it's better to do something that's understood than going something that's a problem you're solving that nobody understands. Even like the app that we are using, Confair, there are tons of apps out there, but we always felt that there are either too loaded, too generic. So we want something, some experience that can be very customized to that event, but it just gives the things that an attendee need. What are the seven things that an attendee need at the fingertips and ease? So I think that's what this Confair app is and then is solving. So every problem that's a well understood problem, I think if you solve it with the customer in mind, that what he or she is looking for, and then I think your product will stand out over time. Yeah.
I think that's great advice. And looking ahead as AI and emerging technologies continue to evolve, how do you see innovation events changing over the next few years? And what role would you like TechCon Global to play in that future?
That's a great question. I think it's becoming a lot more important. So first thing, we all need that human connection. We went through that 3 years of COVID, and we knew that Zoom meetings, and we are craving for that, right? That handshake, that look in the eye, that the body gesture, that that explains something. So conferences, I think the mission has to be very clear. In my mind, the first mission is the human connection, because people are looking for, you might be looking for a mentor, you might be looking for an investor, you might be looking for just somebody to bounce off ideas, or you might be looking for me, what I look for is amazing entrepreneurs, amazing investors, amazing operators who have done amazing things in life. And what I need from them is just how did they go about doing it, their story, their roadblock that they face, and how did they go overcome them. To me, that's gold, because that's advice, that's a suggestion, that's the learning, that's I can, some part of it I can use in my life. So to me, every person looking for something different. So you have to first figure out what you're looking for. And then the second thing is the knowledge itself. You can have tons of YouTube video on rags and agentic designs, but how a person that's running, say, a $10 billion company, how is he or she thinking to see how the development would be, how the product marketing, how those functions will change. Those are the decision makers. They are the one who are defining the future, right? So I want to hear from them how they are doing it. And then the knowledge part, I'm saying the deep technical vertical knowledge, we intentionally don't cover that much at the TechCon. You won't see somebody going into a slide deck and showing the latest LLM architecture, because that can be comprehended very easily. I can sit in front of my computer and there are really good tutorials I can learn. But how an entrepreneur who's raised at a unicorn valuation, and how's he growing revenue? How is he going from 1 to 10 million, 10 to 100, 100 to billion? That's each a very different fork in the road. Those are the things. You can read as many books as you would like, but hearing from people who have done it, to me, that's the key. There are people who write about things, and there are people who do things. And a lot of those are very quiet people. They are not very out there. They don't put themselves out there most of the time. So you have to really extract out of them that how did they go about solving those problems. And to me, that's what we capture at TechCon. Every TechCon session is recorded, available, and those gems and gold are available for everyone to benefit. So I feel the conferences will become a lot more important, because when you're working somewhere, you're interacting with either your board, your peers, or your people you report to, and you spend 40 to 100 hours with them.
Yeah.
But if there are five CEOs in a room, which are all trying to solve a very complex problem or grow their business, that interaction is priceless. And normally they themselves don't get that opportunity except conferences, because they're so busy with their customers and all. But I feel that right conferences that are solving the right problem and with the right intention will be the ones that will stand out, and people will go to TechCon. I'm feeling blessed that we have built an amazing pool of around, I'll say, 900 CEOs, investors across the country. And they trust it because, first of all, when they come, they have an amazing experience. The people that are speaking, I remember in 2024, one of the panels was a good friend of mine, Kari, is a CEO of Linear. He was speaking, and one of the investors reached out to me that we have been trying to connect with Kari for a while. Can you make the connection? So even those people, these very successful people, are also looking for the right connections. So I think that becomes a good channel for that. And the idea is we bring only people that are giving back. We want them to share their knowledge and share their experiences. We don't invite people that are professional speakers that ask for compensation just to speak because we prefer a quiet person that have built $100 million company to share how he did that, because that to me is gold, because that's where not many places that you can capture that. So that's what we are trying to do, and then make this available. I did a panel fireside chat with really a legend, Dr. Irvin Jacobs, of 3 weeks
Right.
ago. It was just obviously I was in awe. He has accomplished so much, and he was able to recollect all the things he did. But the best thing was that we had around 200 early stage entrepreneurs in the audience, the people that will be defining the future, for them to hear from the legend himself. How many opportunities will you get?
Yeah.
So those are the things that we are TechCon Global is trying to achieve, and yeah, hopefully keep making an impact.
Yeah. Human insight and real world impact, that makes more of a difference than simply reading about it. I love that perspective. And I think what you're doing is right. And it allows people to get more out of the conference and they feel better about it and they can be more prepared to go back into their life and make those improvements. So I love that. Before we
Thank
wrap up, I always love to ask, when you do step away from your work, what are some activities or hobbies you're passionate about?
you. So I've been always been workaholic, but watch sports. So I like soccer and obscure sport that not many folks in the US are familiar with. It's called cricket. So it's the second popular sport in the world. So I think I follow that religiously. So I have younger kids, so I spend a lot of doing activities with them, spending time with them. There was a period of time last 3 years that I was writing books. So I have published 3 books. So I was busy with that. But now I think it's a lot of effort. So I've decided that I will take a pause on writing books. But I think my last one was published, I think last year, I think. Yeah.
Nice. Oh, congratulations. That's exciting.
Thank you. Thank you.
Faisal, thank you so much for walking us through what you're building at TechCon and how it's creating real opportunities for real people to get that advice and that human connection in the AI and tech space. So, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Alicia, for having me. Yeah.
And if anyone would like to learn more about TechCon Global, you can visit their website at techconglobal.com. Keeping you connected to tomorrow. Today, this is Alicia with AInews.com.